Good day, everyone. Today we are going to discuss about logical oppositions. Propositions are said to be logically opposed to each other when they have the same subject and predicate but are different in quality or quantity or in both quality and quantity. Examples: all human beings are mortal. No human beings are mortal. We can see the opposition in these two propositions. They have the same subject, human beings, and the same predicate, mortal, but they differ in quality because in the first one, a proposition, there is an affirmation between the subject and the predicate. But in the second proposition, a proposition, there's a denial between the subject and the predicate. So they differ in quality, but the same quantity. So there is an opposition between these two. Next, some human beings are mortal. Some human beings are not mortal. There is also an opposition between these two propositions because they have the same subject and predicate, but they differ in quality. So both are particular, but in the I proposition, there is an agreement between the subject and the predicate, but in the next proposition, O proposition, there is a denial between the subject and the predicate. So they differ in quality, but not in quantity. Take note that two oppositions are opposed to each other only if they differ at least in quantity or in quality, but they have the same subject and predicate. May we have the square of oppositions. This square of oppositions is a visual aid. So it is a representation to understand better and remember better the various kinds of oppositions and their different laws. So here we have A proposition, every S is P, and its relationship with E, which is contrary, no S is P. A and O, they are contradictory. E and I, they are also contradictory. I and O are subcontraries. You should be able to master this square of opposition so that we'll be able to remember every time that there are oppositions. So to better understand this, let us go to the different laws governing the oppositions. First, we have contradiction or contradictories. It is a relationship existing between the A proposition and O proposition, and also E and I propositions. So the rule is both contradictories cannot be true, nor can be false together. It means if one is true, the other one is false. And if one is false, the other one is true. So that if A is true, O is false, A is false, O is true, and so on. We have a note here. Between contradictories, there is no middle ground. So either or. Either one is true or false. Examples. All humans are mortal. If that is true, O is necessarily false. Some humans are not mortal. If all humans are angels is false, then O proposition, some humans are not angels, is true. E and I propositions. If all humans are not angels is true, then I is false. If all humans are not mortal is false, then the I proposition, some humans are mortal, is necessarily true. So just remember that if one is false, the other one is true, or if one is true, the other one is false. Number two, contraries. This is a relationship existing between A and E. So there are only two propositions involved. Both contraries cannot be true together but can be false together. If one is true, the other is false. But if one is false, the other is either true or false, or in short, it is doubtful. So always remember, between A and E, if one is true, the other one is necessarily false. But if one is false, there is no assurance that the other one is true or false, hence it is doubtful. Example, all humans are mortal. If that is true, then A proposition must be false. All humans are not mortal. But if A proposition is false, such as all humans are angels, then A proposition is doubtful. It can be true or false. All humans are not angels. Same thing, if E proposition is true, such as all humans are not angels, then A proposition is false. All humans are angels. However, if E proposition is false, such as all humans are not mortal, there is no guarantee that A proposition is true or false. All humans are mortal. That's why it is doubtful. Number 3, subcontraries. This relationship exists between I and O propositions. If I is true, O is doubtful. If I is false, O is true. If O is true, I is doubtful. But if O is false, I is true. What is the rule? The rule is both subcontraries cannot be false together, but they can be true together. Hence, if one is true, the other is doubtful. But if one is false, the other is necessarily true. Examples. Some students are studious. If this proposition I is true, then its subcontrary O, some students are not studious, is either true or false or doubtful. If I is false, such as some students are studious, O is true. Some students are not studious. But if O is true, some students are not studious, I proposition some students are studious is doubtful. If O is false, some students are not studious, then I is true, some students are studious. So always remember that under this, they cannot be both false, but they can be both true. The last one, subalterns. It is a relationship existing between universal and particulars. The first rule, the truth of the universals involves the truth of the particulars. It means that if the universal is true, the particular is also true. So that if A is true, I is true. If A is true, O is true. Example, all students are learners. If that is true, then it is necessary that some students are learners is also true. In like manner, E and O. If E is true, such as all students are not lazy, then some students are not lazy is also true. So that is the first rule. The second rule, the truth of the particulars does not involve the truth of the universals. So that if the particular is true, the universal is doubtful. Hence, if I is true, A is either true or false or doubtful. If O is true, E is also doubtful. Example, if I is true, such as some students are learners, A can either be true or false. All students are learners. If some students are not lazy is true, there is also no guarantee that all students are not lazy is true or false, because either can be true or false. So that is rule number 2. Rule number 4, the falsity of the universals does not involve the falsity of the particulars. If the universal is false, the particular is doubtful. So if A is false, I is doubtful. E is false, O is doubtful. Example, if A proposition is false, such as all learners are students, I proposition is either true or false. Some learners are studious. So there is no guarantee that it is true. Same thing, there is no guarantee that it is also false. Hence, it is doubtful. Between E and O, if E is false, such as all students are not learners, some students are not learners can either be true or false. That is rule number 3. And the last rule, the falsity of the particular involves the falsity of the universal. If the particular is false, the universal is also false. So that if I is false, A is false. If O is false, E is also false. Example, if I is false, such as some students are lazy, then it is necessarily false that all students are lazy. Same thing, if O is false, such as some students are not lazy, then all students are not lazy is necessarily false. These are the 4 rules under subalterns. Thank you for listening.